Hey y'all, Bill Quirk with the Defensive Training Group and ShootGTR. Here today to do a quick video to talk about some changes in our class nomenclature that you're going to be seeing starting in the new year. So right now our core classes are Concealed Carry 1, used to be called Basic Handgun, Concealed Carry 2, used to be Concealed Carry Fundamentals, and then Concealed Carry 3, which is an all scenario based class. So for reasons of some legal changes over the law for concealed carry in the past year in the state of Florida, as well as some recurring questions and some confusion about those names, we decided to change those names to a series of identifiers that are going to more accurately, we hope, reflect what the classes are all about and help you as potential students understand which classes should I take, where do they fall, what's the progression, things like that. So Concealed Carry 1 is going to become Defensive Handgun 1 Primary Skills. Concealed Carry 2 is going to become Defensive Handgun 2 Critical Principles. And then Concealed Carry 3 is going to become Defensive Handgun 3 Applied Tactics. So what are those classes all about? The curriculum is constantly evolving, to be sure, but at the same time, it's basically the same thing that we have now, but these new identifiers are going to help explain more clearly, more succinctly what the classes are all about. So Defensive Handgun 1, the old basic handgun, that is your introduction. That's going to cover all of the foundational skills to help you purchase a firearm, to help you understand how to clean, maintain, store your firearm, as well as all the law, especially as it relates to concealed carry and deadly force, all the law that's going to help you understand what you can and cannot do, where you can do it, and so on and so forth. Finally, that class will cover, there is a range portion, and that will cover the fundamentals of shooting a handgun. So we'll go out on the range. There's no holster work, but there'll be 50 rounds showing you the core skills to shoot that handgun effectively and safely. So that's a full day on the range, or a full day in the classroom rather, plus the range portion. And it's where you want to start. That class also gives you two important things. One, it meets and exceeds the requirements to obtain your Florida Concealed Weapons Permit, which, as most of you know, in Florida now, we do have a version of constitutional carry, but you can still get your permit, and some people prefer to do that, and there are some advantages to doing that. Also, that class comes with a 3-month membership to the range, so you'll be able to come and practice the skills that you've learned in Defensive Handgun 1. So after that class, we move on to Defensive Handgun 2. And that class is a more deeper dive into specifically the lifestyle involved with concealed carry and even home defense and other types of defensive applications. But especially with concealed carry, we'll talk about your next steps, and specifically we'll get into holster work. So that class starts in the classroom, and like I said, we'll do a deeper dive into why we have to shoot people, where we shoot people, how we're going to incapacitate those threats, the tools that we use, gun selection, ammunition selection, modifications, accessories, red dots, and all that type of thing. We will discuss tactical medicine and some of those considerations. We don't gloss over that, but it's not a deep dive into that. I just give you some of the starting points there, some of the things that you might want to consider, and that will lead into some other classes we do, Stop the Bleed and MedBag, IFAC Builder, that are taught here by Dr. Rob Balbus. Those are other classes that we do. Defensive Handgun 2 will also get a lot into holsters, because if you are going to be going out with a concealed weapon, it's going to be holstered, and you want something that's going to be as comfortable as possible and as discreet as possible. So we go into a lot of those different details. Specifically for both men and women, different strategies to conceal the weapon, different technologies that you might use based on your clothing, based on your environment, that type of thing. And I bring a bunch of different holsters in and different technologies that allow you to carry the weapon and other equipment comfortably, concealably, and all that kind of stuff to make it part of your lifestyle. So after that classroom portion, we go out on the range and we'll do about 100 rounds on the range, all holster work, teaching you how to draw. Ideally from concealment, not necessarily if you're really new to this. I don't make you do concealment, but I'll show you how to defeat your concealed carry garment and get the weapon into play under closed front type garments, under open front garments, a bunch of different things. And then we'll go out and we'll practice those things. And that range portion is more applied than in Defensive Handgun 1, which is really foundational. It's your core fundamentals. Defensive Handgun 2 is going to take one more step and apply those fundamentals in more of a real-world context. And so we'll talk about how we're going to stop that threat, where we're going to engage that threat to increase the likelihood of stopping that threat, as well as maintaining situational awareness with our surroundings to increase our survivability and set ourselves up for success. The end of Defensive Handgun 2 is a force on instructor scenario. So one of the staff come out wearing protective gear, and you, the student, will be equipped with a simunition pistol, a Glock that fires paint pellets, basically. And I will put you into a scenario, an unknown contact in a parking lot. It might involve force, it might not. It depends on you, it depends on how you respond. You will not be hurt, you're not going to be touched, but it's very informative. I'll be there with you, right behind you as you do this. I will debrief you and you'll run it again. So you'll get 2 chances to go through this. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's really designed to open your eyes and give you some things to think about moving forward. So that gets us to, finally, Defensive Handgun 3, Applied Tactics. And this class is all about the scenarios. This is about taking everything you've learned in Defensive Handgun 1 and Defensive Handgun 2 and then applying it to real-world scenarios. So the morning of that class, Defensive Handgun 3, starts out in the classroom, and we'll talk about escalation and de-escalation, legal considerations, environmental considerations, a lot of situational awareness discussion, making sure that you're setting yourself up for success in the unlikely event that one of these situations happens to you. In the afternoon, we'll go out, and again, I'll have one of my staff guys come out with the protective gear on, and you'll have the sim pistol, and you will go through a total of 5 scenarios in that class. The first is the same unknown contact scenario from Defensive Handgun 2. Then you'll do an ATM, a gas station, a home defense type situation, and then finally an active shooter in a mall or in a office complex, something along those lines. And I set all that kind of stuff up for you. And again, you'll run it, I'll debrief you, and you'll run it again so that you can go back and apply some of the things we've discussed during the debrief. Very good class, very applied. You will, I guarantee, learn a lot, and it will dispel some myths that we've gotten from Hollywood and from other sources that once we start discussing them, they really don't apply or exist in the real world. So very, very informative. So those are the 3 classes, and like I said, they're basically the same 3 classes, constantly evolving, but the same 3 classes we have now. These are the new names that we're going to be using going forward into the new year that hopefully will address both the legal considerations, changes in the law with concealed carry, permits to permitless carry, but also better encapsulate what the individual classes do and explain why it's important to continue your training, not just to stop with Defensive Handgun 1, but to continue on to Defensive Handgun 2 and Defensive Handgun 3. Remember, as you've heard me say before, training is a journey, not a destination. So make sure you stay on your journey. As always, if you have any questions, leave them below. Give us a like, give us a share, and you all stay safe.